Hey guys, my name is Silver and welcome to Nerdsplosion. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to play a game called Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering has 5 basic colors. You have black, red, white, green, and blue. In addition, you also have colorless cards like artifacts. So, the different kinds of cards in Magic the Gathering can be divided into types. You have enchantments, which can only be played during your main phase, which is before and after combat. You have instants, which can be played at any time. You can play these cards whenever you want, even during your opponent's turn. Then you have creatures. Creatures can only be played on your turn and only during your main phase. Creatures are your main source of damage to your opponent. Sorceries have a variety of different effects, and you can only use it one time, the same with instants. But what makes a sorcery different from an instant is that you can only play it during your main phase. Now this is an artifact. An artifact is usually a colorless card, but they do have colored artifacts. This artifact happens to be an equipment. It's a type of artifact that you attach to a creature in order to make that creature more powerful. So, if you're building a deck, what you're first going to want to do is you're going to want to pick your colors. So, say you're playing and you want to use blue and green. So, what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to find and select cards that you like that are blue and green. Now, the basic deck structure would be 20 creatures and then 20 sorceries, artifacts, instants, and enchantments. And then you want to have 20 basic lands. Now, I know these cards aren't the right colors, but they'll do for this. So, after you have your deck built, you need to know what the rules of the game are. So, at the top right corner of your cards, you're going to see your mana cost. This is how much land you have to tap in order to play the spell. Now, to tap a land, all you do is turn it sideways, and this is how you tell that a card has been used for the turn. And at the beginning of your next upkeep, which is the beginning of your next turn, all of your cards that are tapped become untapped. Now, this needs one white land. So at least one land out of the 2 has to be white. And this one can be any color. Now, this card is a 3/3. It means it has a power of 3 and a toughness of 3. Now, a creature's power is how much damage they can deal in combat, while a creature's toughness is how much health they have, and if their toughness were to reach 0 in one turn, that creature's dead. Now, at the end of each turn, your creature's toughness goes back up to its original one. All damage is removed at the beginning of each end step. Then, each player starts out with 20 life points. Now, if you have a creature and your opponent has a creature, now keep in mind this card can only be blocked. Well, this card has flying as long as it's attacking, which means it can only be blocked by creatures with flying or reach. Now, this creature here does not have flying or reach. So if this creature were to attack you, because when you declare an attack, you attack the player, not the creatures. So if this creature were to attack you, your creature would be unable to block, so you would have to take the 2 damage from this creature. Now, since this creature becomes tapped when it's attacking, on your turn, your opponent would be open to attack without being able to block, and you could hit them for 3 damage. And then, at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, they would untap all their creatures and lands and all their tapped cards to show that they are ready to be used for this turn. Now, another thing for you to know before you start playing the game of Magic the Gathering is that at the beginning of your turn, you have your upkeep. Well, you have your untap step, then your upkeep, then your draw phase, which is when you draw a card. Then you have your main phase 1, where you can play lands, creatures, sorceries, enchantments, artifacts. Then you have your combat step, where you either attack or declare blockers when your opponent attacks you. Then you have your main phase 2, where you can also play lands and creatures and etc. And then you have your end step. Your end step is the beginning of the end of your turn, and then it goes to your opponent's turn. Before you start a game, each player is going to put their life total at 20. Now, it's helpful if you have one of these Magic the Gathering spin down dice, because it goes from 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, and so on. So each player is going to bring out their 20 life. Then, each player is going to shuffle their library and then draw 7 cards. After you draw your hand, the person who's going first, which usually is decided by a dice roll, does not draw a card on their first turn. They're going to play their land, and if they have a card that costs one land or 1 mana, they can play that on their first turn, and then it will be your turn. At that point, you will draw a card and continue on to your turn. If you have any questions regarding anything that I went over in this video, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell to get notifications of any new videos that come out. Thank you, and everybody have a nice day. Thanks for watching.